Hey, welcome to this week's episode of The Green Room. This is episode 26. Hopefully you guys have liked, shared, and subscribed to our YouTube page. This is where we upload those each week. Maybe you guys are using these for a podcast as you're out walking the dog, or hopefully you're using this with your small group. I know many groups are meeting virtually now, so a good thing would be to do is to maybe watch this before you meet virtually and then kind of unpack that. So I'm here today with Pastor Bryan with a Y, and he talked today about uncertain times. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we're in some uncertain times right now, and I was being completely honest when I say, most of the days that I'm getting up, I'm thinking about what's next all the time, because it's like, what's going to be new? We're all like, there's a live thing from Governor Hogan, like, so there is this real level of uncertainty right now, isn't it? With what's going on in life.
Have you found that your schedule's off? My schedule is completely blown away.
Yeah.
And people like routine and structure and that sort of thing. And it just seems like, I'm sleeping a little bit later where we're all quarantined and daily life is not normal, so to speak. It just seems like everything's a little off.
Yeah, I felt that this week too. It's like I had to apologize to some of our tech team because I was late getting some things to them. And I'm like, oh crap, it's Thursday. This was supposed to happen Wednesday. And so, I think we're just all kind of, off. Heather, my wife's been home for over 9 days, I think. Not because she had anything, but she just is able to work home. So she said, hey, I'm going to work home because that's probably, a good thing. And so we both looked at each other yesterday and we were like, man, this is just kind of weird, It's like, it's the Walking Dead's getting ready to happen or something. I don't know, But I think, the uncertainty of things is a real thing. For everyone right now. And I think that's even if you're not staying home. Many people are still working, but I think they think, how long is this going to last? I talked to someone just a little while ago that, lost their job and they've been there for a long time. And, and they would have never thought that. Yeah. And so it's just, I think that is creating a lot of angst for people right now.
Yeah, so today you talked about who are you going to look to for help? Yeah. And one of the things I thought about is, in this season where you're all isolated and that sort of thing, it's kind of hard to connect maybe with your tribe. Yeah. And I talked earlier about small groups meeting virtually. Mm-hmm. Who are you reaching out to for help? Because, God built us for community. Yeah. And, to lean on each other. I know, it's going to be quite difficult. You got your family and that sort of thing in your house, but there's some times where you need to reach out to, one, maybe us as pastoral staff, you have a prayer request, or two, your small group that you do life with each week. So that's kind of a challenge.
It is, and I think, Scripture speaks about that a lot, about us, being together. Jesus sent the people out 2 by 2. The Bible talks about, 2 is better than 1. And so I think God wired us and designed us to be around people. And I think that's what's difficult right now. I think that's what's leading to a lot of people's depression. And that's a real thing right now. People are struggling with depression because, hey, I can't see the person at the store that I normally see. I don't see my coworkers. And some of my friends are I think I'm getting on their nerves because all my friends want to text. I hate texting. I text. It's not that I hate it, but I want to see your face. Yeah. I want to have a real, conversation with you. So I'm like, pulling up Facebook Messenger. It's like, hey, what are you doing? And I think it's so important that through this time, I talked about, decide who you look to, and it's a who, not a what, because we're finding now that, the whats are gone. The things that we put our security and our comfort in, those things like our jobs and our money, that stuff's, it's temporary. It can come and go, and many people are seeing that right now. And we've got to be tied to a who, and while ultimately I think we've got to be tied to God. And here's what's great about that right now is that, it doesn't matter what's going on, you can stay connected to God. He's the who that will always be there for you. And I think that's so important. But then, like you said, God gave us people, and designed us to have relationships. And it's so important for you to get, connected with your small group. Hey, if you need to call us, if you're and talk to one of the pastors, just so you have someone to be able to talk to. I think that's so important. I I'm empowered, I'm encouraged, I thrive on talking to people, and I think a lot of people are that way. So, man, that just kind of keeps my glass half full. And I think we don't want to miss those relationships that God's put in our lives. But let me just say this: most importantly, it's don't miss the relationship with God. I talked about how there's no social distancing with Jesus.
That was good.
Yeah, Pastor Bryan texted me a minute ago. He said, "Don't let social distancing equate to spiritual distancing." I think he said. Sorry, Pastor Bryan. And but it's true because we get so busy like trying to take care of ourselves and making sure we're okay and our family's okay that I think God's over here like, hey, I want to help you, and ultimately I believe my family is good if I stay connected to Him. Like if I stay close to Him, then I think everything else is good from that point.
Yeah. I think this could also be a season to where maybe we, it's kind of thrown us off a little bit, but there are times to where we kind of hit pause that we can build maybe some new habits in. I know yesterday, we painted a room, my wife and I, and it's something that we've been wanting to do for a while. But where we could, everything else is kind of shut down, except for Home Depot. I was able to get some paint. But we actually spent the day painting, a room in our house, and we kind of knocked that off the list and actually had a great time doing it. But it was one of those times that I don't think if normal life was going on, that we would have had that time, one, that we would have got that chore done, and two, that we would have had that bonding time together.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of good just to cut the TV off and not kind of plow through another Netflix marathon, but just actually do something tangible and get something accomplished.
Yeah.
So
I saw somebody post this week. He says, "I've watched everything on Netflix. What's next?"
Yeah, that's right.
It's like,
and then everyone chimes in. Yeah. So this could also be a season. I hear a lot of times stones being thrown at social media and that sort of thing, but actually, it's how you use it. And this is really a great time to be able to use social media for a positive way. We just actually had in our service over 700 comments during the service earlier.
Wow.
And it's just an awesome way for the church to stay connected. Actually, a lot of first-time viewers jumped in and looked at it. So social media is not all bad. It's just it's a way, especially during this season, to where you can really have a positive influence in people's lives. That because everyone's kind of slowed down during this season because they're not out and about. That maybe God's using this for maybe a revival.
Yeah. Through the internet. Imagine that. Yeah, and I think we said last week it's why it's so important. And I just want to challenge everybody, hey, share the encouraging posts from Oak Ridge, share the online services, because you just don't know where they're going to land. We had somebody way down south that gave their life to Jesus last week because, they stumbled across our Facebook page, and you just don't know how God can use you in that way. And I think sometimes we think, it's like, well, I don't want people to think, I'm just, sharing my church stuff all the time. Man, look, like that's what people need right now. People are looking for hope. I don't think I shared this with you last week, but, a friend of mine, I'm in the grocery store, and if I did, then it's probably worth sharing again. But and she just came up to me, Heather and I have known her for a while, and said, hey, can you give me a hug? And we did side hug, okay, but because we didn't want to get too close. But she said, I just need to know things are going to be okay. And people want to know that now, and sometimes just sharing something, gives them that hope and encouragement. I talked about how we, one of the biggest things I think is just, looking to God, like, what does that look like for you? When you are looking to God through good times and bad, because again, we need to do it during both. How does that look for you?
Yeah. Is that rhetorical?
No,
oh, okay.
No, I'm asking you.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Are we still here?
Wait, I think the times where I've seen God show up the most is when I've been at my lowest. And it's just, I've come to a point to where I don't have any more answers. I'm an overthinker by nature. So I'm constantly, which really true confession here. It hits my prayer life a lot of times. I tend to my prayer life dries up a little because I'm constantly trying to think things through. And I think God gets me to the end of my rope sometimes to where it's just, look vertically. You said that this morning. Those are the times to where I've seen God show up the most. And let me just explain that a little bit. This is how I see him show up. Many times it's through his word in my daily reading. And I can tell you, there's times to where I do a Bible reading plan. There's a lot of mornings where it feels like I'm just checking the box to get through the plan. And but there's also times to where I'm more in those seasons in tune to what God's wanting to say. And it seems how God works out that I'm at a place in the Bible that actually speaks directly to what I'm going through at that time. The other thing is where I've seen God really use people to speak into my life. People that kind of know me, know if something's maybe a little off. I kind of call it my inner circle. A lot of times those are our small groups, so that's why I'd encourage you guys to stay connected. But there's times where someone would just give me an encouraging word or say, hey, I've noticed that this has been going on. Have you thought about that? And that's exactly what I needed to hear at those moments.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of to his word and to people. I'm a very relational person, so a lot of times when I tend to isolate when I'm at the end of my rope when it's not what God really wants.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think we have this wonderful model in Jesus. The Bible says that Jesus often went away to spend time with his Father, and I think that's so important for us. If Jesus did that, we should do that as well. And I think we just have to make sure that in the middle of panic, in the middle of chaos, what you'd like to think is that when my life slows down in a perfect world, that I'm able to do these things better. But sometimes it's not that way because, I know sometimes for me it's like, man, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. I just want to lay down for a while, and I think we got to make sure that, we balance all of that together. And, if you think about if anybody was going through a rough time, Jesus gave his life and died for us. Yeah. But yet he knew that he needed to do that. And that's just been kind of my life story is that when I stay closer to him, things just seem to be better. Yeah. And I think we miss that as Christians so much. When Heather's been home, she had flu. Okay, not the COVID-19. She had the flu. So I was just like, hey, I'm gonna sleep in the other room, just to, because I need to be here and helping people. And just those first 3 or 4 days where I was doing that, it felt so weird being separated from her. And I think that's the same thing with our relationship with God. Like, I think, like when we're separated from God, even for a couple days, hopefully it feels weird to us because we want to stay so connected with him to help us get through this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, you had me thinking earlier in the message when you were talking about feelings will lead you astray. Yeah. Another thing I've had to really be self-aware of is that, especially think about a time like this, you're kind of pinned up in the house together, everyone's kind of, tensions are a little high, and really having that project onto you and take a moment, whenever you don't think rational when feelings are involved. So a lot of times when you get emotional is a lot of times where you kind of shut down the logical piece, and you need that as well. I just tend to think that these are the moments to where when those tensions do get a little high where you're all kind of, bottled up together and that sort of thing, use those, take a second, pause, reflect, kind of say, okay, God, what are you trying to teach me? Because most of the time when you react, God's got some stuff that he's wanting to work on inside of you. Because you can control your actions. So it's really one of those times to where you can use this as a season to kind of grow as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so true because even I was talking just a minute ago. I was thinking, hey, when I stay connected to God, it helps give me peace and comfort and knowing that things are steady with Him, even though life isn't, because He's steady. but you're right. That, it also changes you
Yeah.
down the line. It helps you be a better mom or dad. It helps you, be a better student or a better child, or and be a better friend. And
Yeah.
I had one of those moments this week where, because you're right, you get pent up and you're like, it's easy to just get on each other's nerves. And again, like you spend time with the Lord, and it's like, treat people the way you want to be treated. And I'm like, oh crap, I wouldn't want to have been talked to, with a smart voice. So why am I doing that?
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's in the police force yesterday, and he was telling me that there is still a lot of family violence and some tough stuff going on. He said because people, if there was a problem before this, now they're at home together. And so they're getting on each other's nerves even more, and there's actually a lot of problems, because he was telling me, hey, we're not having any robbery crimes the way we used to. People aren't breaking in because people are at home, but what we are still seeing is domestic dispute calls a lot. And matter of fact, he said, someone was killed the other day because of a fight that escalated out, and it's like, man, that's scary, and you don't think about that. You think when you're at home with everybody, everything's just fine, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, I know it gets difficult, especially in this season. You hit on this morning as well the idea that there's some loved ones, and I know even my father-in-law, we've dropped groceries off or whatever, but it's just kind of at the door and we kind of leave just for the higher risk exposure. I saw a post on Facebook yesterday. One of our members went to visit their dad to drop some stuff off, and they were kind of waving through the window and everything, but without that closeness with family members and like that could be a stressful time as well. And so it's just one of those seasons that is just very, very odd right now. Yeah. But I think it's a way that we can use this season to maybe draw closer to what is God wanting us to learn from this and grow from this.
That's a great question, and I think, hey, you might even pause it if you're watching this with a group. Hey, what does God want to change in you during this time? What are the things that you maybe have been too busy to work on that you could allow God's voice to be a little louder right now to help you be who He wants you to be? And I think, again, like I said today, I hope our story is through this is that we got better through this. It would be a shame to go through this and not be a better people as a result of this. And like we've got this time where things are a little slowed down. And I think that's the thing. It's just it's so natural, isn't it, to worry and have fear and say, hey, I'm going to eat my way. I've told you this at the office, it's like I'm at home and I'm like eating so much, And what's at the core of that? At the core of that is really me trying to deal with my feelings, me trying to deal with my fear. I mean, I know that. Thank you, recovery. That's what helps, be aware of your internal struggles. But I think, we've got to look to God so that we don't look to those bad things. We got to look to Him who is good to help us become better, through this. And hey, you might have heard Shane talk about it today, and let me just plug it here. On Thursdays, I'm going to be doing second base. Second base is part of our growth track. Our growth track is designed to help you know God and grow in your relationship with God. And second base, I talk about the 2 habits that help you grow closer to God. So if you're watching and you'd say, hey, like I don't know what it means to look to God or to grow to know God, man, that would be a great thing for you to do, is to join us online Thursday at 2:00 and look at second base, because I'm gonna help you walk through how you can look to God and grow in your relationship with God, so that you can have more peace as you go through these uncertain times.
Yeah, it's so cool that our classes aren't stopping and that sort of thing, and we had already started working to get those online. So that's very, very cool. We're about at our time. Yeah. Anything else that you want to add?
I think, hey guys, remember my last point today, press through my fear and move toward my Savior. Keep pressing and moving toward Jesus through this time, and He'll help you get through it. And I think we want to be here to help you get through this as well. Just know we love you, we care for you, we're praying for you all the time. If you haven't lately, go to our website at orbc.net. We've updated that to make it easier for you. And Pastor Bryan's kind of calling it our roadmap, our online roadmap as we go through COVID-19. And there's a lot of great resources. We're coming out each week with new stuff, not just Growth Track, but like Celebrate Recovery and Landing is going to be online. So we're working on all these great things that, again, you can look at your 10 ways to love your neighbor. There's also a place if you need help, how you can connect with us. So I would just encourage you to really stay in tune to the website at orbc.net as you go through this.
Yeah, if you didn't catch it last week, Pastor Bryan's going to do a Wednesday update. That's on our website too. That's going to be posted there. Go there, check that out. He hit 10 points that we're going to be hitting in this season, because right now it's indefinite, kind of when things are going to kind of get back to normal. So look at how we're going to be operating as a church. We got a lot of cool things happening. We also mentioned family ministry. Family ministry has not shut down. They've just taken it online. So it's so cool to see our social media with people doing the lessons at home with their children. And Pastor Gary is rocking with the students. He's got a lot of cool things planned there, but that's all in that Wednesday update. So be sure to check that out. It's very, very important for you guys to stay connected. So primarily through our website, be also checking your emails. You're getting text alerts. This is a time to where we can really, really stay connected to our church family. But we love you guys. Be sure to connect with your group this week, and we'll see you next week.
See you.